skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, performance enhancement expert, and a business strategist and an author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 63 countries, such as the United States, Sweden, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, India, Panama, Belgium, Costa Rica. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use this to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live Tuesday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community. I ask that you please subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, wherever you are comfortable listening to podcasts, and also the Google Play Music app. On the show are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, and podcasters, and authors who are amazing at what they do and are impacting the lives around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any question for any of the guests that I bring on the show, or for myself, you have the option to call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. We'd love to hear from you, and my team is standing by to field those calls. So please help me welcome to the show my friend Joya. I'm going to mess up your last name, I think. Joya Gallasch?
Gallasch.
Gallasch. Okay, just make it. You never know. You never know. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you. I'm so excited to be a guest on your show. So
it was amazing meeting you last month in Austin, Texas at the New Media Summit. What did you think of that event?
I thought it was incredible. It was incredible. Not only I was so uplifted by the content that the professional podcasters shared, and also the content that the 150 participants shared. I was just blown away about, the level of goodness that is about or is already being shared in the world, and that always touches me.
Perfect. Yeah, I have so much fun at the New Media Summit events, and it's just a great place for heart-centered people to get together, exchange ideas, to learn, and to build relationships. So, yeah, but it was awesome meeting you. So I'm so pumped to have you on the show. The title of this episode of Life Transformation Radio is Uplifting Women Worldwide with Joya Gallasch. Yes, that's right? Gallasch?
Gallasch, it's right. Yeah.
Perfect. Joya is an expert transformational teacher, intuitive, spiritual entrepreneur, and self-love activist. As a heart-centered mentor and retreat leader, she has taught international programs on purpose, transformation, and women's empowerment for more than 25 years. She supports clients who have created external success to transform a health issue, a trauma, frustration, burnout, or lack of fulfillment and sadness keeping them from experiencing holistic success and living fulfilled, joyful, peaceful lives. She empowers women to blossom into their uniqueness by integrating self-love and softness into their lives, finding their true power, voice, and visibility in life and business. Her story of facing 17 years of the dark night of the soul includes sexual abuse, a wildfire, a near-death experience, and her own inner healing journey to find her self-worth, true power, and voice. Her healing arts education and trainings include meditation, Right to Heal, dance, Raja-Hatha-Kriya Yoga Council, family constellation, trauma release, healing the MotherWound and FatherWound, their Tantra, quantum light, breathwork, matrix, somatic movement, women, goddess, myth studies, and being a Reiki Master. She does it all, ladies and gentlemen. She is also the CEO of Women Uplift and was the co-founder of the Studio Incorporated, Hollywood Acting Workshop, and Capture Film Incorporated. Joya celebrates her gift of clairvoyance, the 4-month pregnancy with her spirit daughter, India, her summit of Mt Shasta, and the 482-mile-long walk called the Camino de Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Her power mantra, feel to heal, shift to uplift. Shift to uplift. Her website is www.joya, Joya, joya.love. And if you want to contact her on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, it's at Joya P. Gallasch, Gallasch. Wow. After reading all that, I know this is going to be a just mind-blowing, exciting episode. So the first question I have for you is, what is your why? Why are you in the industry that you're in, and why do you do what you do?
I love this question. It's so fun to actually listen to somebody else read the bio. It's sometimes I go, oh my God, is it too much? But it's just amazing to reflect, I guess, on my own and everybody else's life journey. It's so full. So I'd love to come back to the why, and I'd love to answer this question with another question. And the other question is, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? And many of you might know that this is an excerpt from a Mary Oliver poem. And this is one of my whys, because I feel life is so precious. It's tender. It's exciting. It's wild. It's full of adventures. It's full of newness, of present moments. And having experienced a lot of dark places in my life, I continuously was invited to come back to the goodness and the preciousness and the wildness. And so this is something that I love to share. And on top of it, it's not only I love to share, I mean, the ingredient of life to me is love. And I very, very intensely got to experience that a while ago, as you know, Sean. And it was actually after an operation, and I wanted to share another piece that is connected to my why. After that operation, which was my very first one, it was the first day after it, I laid in my bed, and I had this question suddenly pop up. And the question was, why did I come to planet Earth? And it was quite astounding. Within probably seconds, I saw and heard 3 answers, 3 sentences. One was to clear my karma, to feel any emotion fully. And the third one was to embody joy, love, and freedom. So I believe that life is about manifestation and creation and creating the lives that we wish to live. And it is also about letting go. And this could be, letting go and clearing karma. And also not being attached to whatever we are invited to letting go. And in that way, I have always so loved to inspire and uplift people. And I guess maybe one of the reasons I enjoy so much is I see and feel where people get stuck and so hard on themselves. And I love to remind them that self-love melts any hardness. So I guess my why is the preciousness of life and being in love with life and being love, really embodying this essence, this quality.
Wow. Amazing. That's probably the greatest response I've ever heard. Like, I was just captivated. Wow.
Aww,
I love that question because you never know what people are going to say, right? I mean, my why is for my family. My why is for to give value. My why is, because of whatever this moment was in life, whatever. But you're like on a deep, deep spiritual level, like deeper than I think I've ever heard somebody on my show go. You're talking about how your why is like global. It's humanity. It's species. It's worldwide. It's but it's on a spiritual level too. So wow. I love that. Love that.
Thank you. And I also want to say I definitely, the whole spiritual connection is very important to me, this amazing connection that we have to the divine. But what is also super important to me is being embodied, being in my body. And that took me a long time. I was always kind of like this spiritual butterfly, and I had a very easy time getting out of my body. And the last, probably these 17 years of the Dark Night of the Soul really taught me to be in my body, to be really here on planet Earth, to be grounded.
Yeah. No. So what do you mean by? Because I've never heard this before until I went to the event and people were talking about it. What does it mean, Dark Night of the Soul? Is that like a literal meaning or like just a metaphor? Is it a name of a book? Like, what do you mean, Dark Night of the Soul?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. Maybe one of my books will be called The Dark Night of the Soul.
I was saying about the same thing. I'm like, that's a great title.
Yeah. So the way I understand it, and I guess my understanding mainly comes or is on an experiential level. The way I had to experience it was that there were situations showing up. For instance, I remember the very first one that offered itself was I was about to lose my company. And my ego, of course, would call it I got kicked out of my company, when in fact it was really time for me to let go, because had I held on, I would have probably gotten very sick, like really sick. And so another Dark Night of the Soul experience to me was, of course, becoming pregnant and then experiencing 2 miscarriages, which was very painful and very traumatic. Yeah. And then, of course, going through a divorce, which I took very deep and did a lot of work to. And then, as you already read, I had this whole sexual abuse experience, and a disease and a wildfire. So I guess these experiences that show up, which gives it the title Dark Night of the Soul, is because I would get so lost in the experience, so traumatized, so negative, so in despair, that I literally at times forgot my connection to the divine. And so the experiences also always showed me, the stuff that wasn't me, that I was holding on to an image or to an identity that was not really true. So I was invited to let it go. And I guess it's these times when we're stuck in darkness and not knowing where does the path go or what is my vision for the next steps. It's that darkness that this title, Dark Night of the Soul, describes.
I think as I'm listening to you describe it, and we had such a connection between all of the guests and attendees and the podcasters and the icons and everybody that was there, that'd be a pretty cool collab book. For like Dark Night of the Soul, right? And how all of these amazing people got through. Because that's really the foundation of my show is you've been through this transformational moment. What is it? How have you taken that transformational moment, battling suicide, addiction, whatever? Because Mothers Against Drunk Driving was started from somebody who lost their child to a drunk driver. The Make-A-Wish Foundation was started because one man, Frank Shankowitz, who was a guest on my show last year in season 1, and he gave a wish to a dying boy with leukemia that said that I wanted to be a police officer, a motorcycle police officer like Chips and, whatever. So he granted that wish for him, and then because it got such attention and touched hearts and minds, that he said, well, I wonder who else we can grant wishes to, and then now it's called Make-A-Wish Foundation. That's literally how it started, Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so we have all of these great beginnings, but we have all of these amazing stories that have pushed us to where we are today. I don't know, I was just thinking, like, what a great idea that would be. Like, what is an amazing, like, Dark Night of the Soul book where it's just a bunch of stories about the dark night of the soul, the tragedies, the triumph of overcoming and becoming resilient, and how you are now have been transformed through those moments. Oh, it'd be an empowering book.
Yeah, I totally agree. Maybe we should collaborate on that, continue the conversation.
Heck yeah, I'm just saying. So so after reading your bio, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I cannot wait to dig into this. I mean, we got all kinds of trauma, which is great because I believe that is what strengthens us and it makes for a great show. But really, it becomes who we are. Sexual abuse, a wildfire, a near-death experience. I'd love to dig into that. And your own inner healing journey. So tell me what one of, I'm sure there's many, but give me a transformational moment that happened in your life that pushed you onto the path or the journey that you're living right now.
Yeah. There have been many.
Right?
As you already said, my most profound one was the most recent one, which is connected to this first operation that I had. I received the blessing and was graced by what even my doctor called a near-death experience. I called it a mini near-death experience because I had heard about it, and I guess when it happens to you or to oneself, it's a big one. So what happened was that the night after my operation, I suddenly, I believe it must have been around 11 p.m. because I remember that I had a time in my mind that I remembered. And so I experienced a state of such deep gratitude. And suddenly it felt like it was waves of gratitude. And I kept checking myself, am I in the body? And it was so odd because in a way I thought I was thinking. And at the same time, I knew I wasn't thinking. It was all this unbelievable experience that happened in every cell of my body and beyond. So the gratitude waves brought all the people and situations into my field that had to do with his operation, which in a way completed my my healing journey with the sexual abuse. And so after the gratitude, I suddenly heard a voice in my head, and that voice said, "You punished yourself with such hardness for making a mistake." And that voice kept repeating. And after I heard the word hardness, suddenly I was catapulted into all these experiences that I had in this lifetime where I was hard on myself, and it was really painful to experience that. It was this image where your life passes by and you get to review everything, but you also have to experience it again. And so once that passed, suddenly there was this field of forgiveness. And it was, about forgiving myself and forgiving the people involved in it. And eventually I was just immersed in this incredible golden light. And there was this energy that nudged me that said, you go back and remind people that self-love melts any hardness. And I have no idea how long this all lasted, because it felt like I was out of the time and space continuum. It was so infinite, the experience. And so when I came back to, kind of like this physical awareness and consciousness, certainly the next day, the next days, I noticed that I was in complete bliss, although, my body was really aching and hurting. And when I walked around in the hospital, the people, and certainly my doctor, she couldn't believe it, that I was so blissed out. and so this transformational moment reminded me too that I can't just talk about, being the love, or it was really about like, okay, you embody it, and how does that look like? And there are obviously many moments in my everyday life when I suck or I forget.
Wow.
And yet it's just so important to color, to remind people of this color. Or maybe for some people, love is like a sound, or like a melody, or like a smell, or like a taste. So I guess one of my missions is to make love like a sense memory exercise, so we remember.
Ah, gotcha. All right. Right on. So how has that impacted you to the point where you have taken your why, and you're currently elevating lives around you? How do you do that? How do you transform lives? How do you elevate lives based on the experiences that you've been through, and including your why in all of it?
Oh, that's another good Sean question.
We ask the hard questions on this show.
Yeah, that's a big one. Elevation. That is a big assignment, and I believe ultimately people elevate themselves, and that's where I come into place. I love to take my clients, women, and sometimes I also have worked with men, deeply inside of themselves and show them that there is nothing to fear, and also support them to face their fears so they know there's nothing to fear, and to help them access their inner knowing and wisdom by themselves, so they are the ones, as I said before, that elevate themselves because they can find the answers within themselves. And so that's really in a nutshell what I do, because I love to come back to this question, what will you do with your one wild, precious life? Will you be real? Will you be authentic? Will you be wild? will you live your unique gifts and talents? That's the kind of stuff I like to discover and experiment with my clients. And I also I'm actually very, very passionate about this one. I love to inspire people to discover and then walk their own path. A path that has no footprints because nobody has walked it before them, so they have to discover it. And I know it takes a lot of guts and courage to do so, and yet I find it so, so important because it means when people do that, they will actually embody their own uniqueness. And I always feel if everybody on this planet would know and experiment and also live their unique talents and gifts, and, I or you, we would honor and see these unique gifts and talents in everybody else, I personally believe we would have peace on planet Earth, because there would just be so much more joy and love being shared and expressed. And I guess that's one way to elevate my clients.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, that's awesome. So talk about some of the things like the healing arts, education, and trainings. Love the meditation. And I truly believe that writing heals you, because I know when I did when I wrote my book and was launching my first book, it was therapy. It was like I was pouring everything, all of this stuff that I held inside. It was coming out. And so a lot of people have told me, like, man, your book is so personal and it's so, uplifting, and like you talk about the things that you've gone through and then how you've overcome it, and but I go, like, it's totally transparent, and I wrote it as if we were having a conversation at a bar. We're sitting at the bar having a conversation, and you're a part of the conversation. So a lot of descriptive writing, a lot of, descriptive words, visualization, text, that paint a picture so that you are there in the room while it's happening. So,
oh, wow.
I truly believe writing to heal. I truly believe that, descriptive writing and visualization scripts, they totally help. But talk about, the yoga and the family constellation and the things that we don't really hear about mainstream a whole lot. Quantum light breathwork and somatic movement. Like, talk about that stuff. What is all that?
Okay, well, let me start with family constellation. I love family constellation. And here is how I understand it works. So there is always the one person in the family system that on a soul level will say, yes, I will heal a certain issue or a secret that has been buried in my family. And for me, it was really around sexual abuse. So you become the black sheep, and you are the one that opens Pandora's box, obviously. Yet, family constellation comes from actually a German guy, downloaded or created it. His name is Bert Hellinger. And he discovered while working with African tribal systems that if one person in the family lineage is not well, it affects the entire family. And so he came up with a very playful system where people can look at issues in their lives that most certainly will then show them connections to family members. And a lot of times it goes really far back. It would go back like 7 or more generations, where the origin of the problem suddenly shows up. And when that is healed, and it's not exactly an easy path all the time, but when that heals, there's a ripple effect through the entire line of ancestors and then the actual family that is still present and alive. And, for instance, when I did my piece around the sexual abuse and many other issues, my family members did not have to be present. I didn't even have to share with, let's say, my mom or my dad or my brother or whoever showed up, or my grandmother, what just happened. There was an energetic adjustment, like a healing ripple effect that would affect everybody. So that's in a nutshell, what family constellation is about. And then, for instance, quantum light breath is absolutely amazing because, once again, it's body-based, and you use the power of your breath. For about an hour, you're breathing in and out, and I do it with the guidance of certain CDs where there's music on, and the breath eventually gets to the emotions that have been stuck or repressed. So a lot of times people start laughing, or they giggle, or they cry, or they start sobbing, or even wailing. And when that happens, it's actually a total blessing because we don't even have to go into story, because the release happens like automatically when the emotion shows up and is being witnessed.
Wow. We're always told, you don't, especially as men, you don't cry, you don't show emotion, you don't show weakness, you don't show, what do you, is there a reason for that? Is there because men are the hunters, men are the gatherers, men are the, supposed to be the spiritual leaders of the household, and yet we're not supposed to show emotion. We're not supposed to, do these things that make us look less than or weaker or, like that. Why do you think that is?
Well, it definitely, it has to do, in my opinion, it has to do with programming. And then if we really take it back, kind of like primal times, if a man who was, the protector and the provider that would hunt and find the food, if that man had shown vulnerability, maybe, out in the field, he wouldn't have survived. Or, when, let's say, tribes were fighting, if you had shown your real self or what you felt in that moment, you might not have survived it. So I have a feeling we're in a totally different time today. And it is so beautiful to actually witness how men, share some of their deepest secrets and some of their darkest secrets and are vulnerable and share emotions. I find that super, super touching and also sexy.
That's what I hear nowadays. It's so admirable and it's so courageous and it's so, but when I was growing up, I was told, do not show emotion, do not whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I guess, whatever. You don't cry at movies, you don't show emotion, and you're just, you're the man, But nowadays it's almost the complete opposite. We're so sensitive. I love it, because it's so different than what they're used to. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, that's what inspires me in working with women so much, is that I love to promote that everything in balance. Everything for women, for instance, we got to find the balance between the female and the male energies, because so many women, including myself for many years, we run our lives on way too much male energy. So I'm supporting women to return back to these feminine qualities. And I have a feeling the same is true for men, to find a balance. So it's not only all male, and certainly it's not only all sensitive and female, but that balance. And then I guess when we encounter each other being well balanced inside, it only good can come from that. And sometimes it's really hard, right, to practice that in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're being...
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're being, this... It's out there for women too. The whole, levels of comparison and competition is so unhealthy.
Sure. Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. I find it so fascinating, how the level of tolerance or what's acceptable, has changed, So I don't know. That's what I find, anyways. But I really appreciate your thoughts on that.
It's so, and I want to add something to that. I personally believe, and I know one of my teachers many years ago said that one of the reasons why we choose, if your audience, whoever's listening, can imagine that there is reincarnation. So one of the reasons we choose to come back to this planet Earth is emotions, to feel deeply. We have this huge spectrum, right, of feelings and emotions. And I personally believe that it is so important and is part of a self-responsibility movement that we actually feel the stuff that is very unpleasant or complicated or yuck to feel. Because if I don't or you don't, it will manifest out in the world. And this is really what we are seeing out in the world. And so I mean, if you're up for it, I could take you and the audience into a very simple feeling process or feeling journey that could be helpful. It's very simple and practical.
Okay.
So you can let me know.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. I always say yes and then figure it out. So
I so love that about you. Yeah, I really appreciate your passion and your enthusiasm and your curiosity. I very much do. Well, okay then. So I am inviting everybody that is listening right now to gift yourself a moment, and it might be a 2 or 3 minute moment, and find a place where you can sit or even stand or lie down. Definitely be comfortable. And then I invite you to close your eyes and connect to your breath. And notice how the breath moves in and then it moves out. And then I invite you to bring your hands, both of your hands, on your belly. So as you breathe in, you notice how the belly rises. And as you breathe out, it contracts. And as you feel your hands on your belly, I'd like you to imagine that this simple touch is helping you to slow down and to soften. And continue breathing in deeply and breathing out deeply. And then notice, is there an emotion or a feeling showing up? Or maybe you've been feeling it all day, but you have not had time, or you have not given yourself permission to connect with it. And then leave one of your hands on your belly and bring the other hand to your heart. And as you gift yourself this time, it's really a time for yourself. Continue breathing deeply in and out. and in and out. And witnessing, how do I feel? Is anything showing up? And just notice it. We don't have to drop into any story. We don't have to analyze or figure it out. This is your time to feel and notice how the breath fills you with life-giving oxygen, and then you release it. So allow yourself to feel. Breathing in deeply and breathing out deeply. And then imagine that whatever you were feeling, it's like a cloud that's moving by. So whatever it is, you are in charge and you can let it go. So imagine that this cloud of emotional feeling is just moving away from you. And as you hold your belly and your heart, it's like a mini hug that you're giving to yourself. And take another deep breath in and out. And then slowly come back to your room. And when you feel complete with this mini journey, please open your eyes.
Wow.
What are you feeling? Yeah.
I feel calm. There's no like I'm not worried. You know, I mean, literally, like while we're doing it on the show, I'm like, okay, what am I going to say next, and how am I going to close it out? Like, there's a million things running through my head. I got notes, I got everything, you know, but I'm not worried. You know?
I love it.
I feel calm. You know?
Yeah, and you know what? It's so simple, and it doesn't really take a lot of time, and
right.
And I love everything that's practical and simple.
Sure. Absolutely. I really like that. I mean, I've done a couple like I use the Headspace app, and it's just like center and ground. But how you were saying it, like gift yourself. You know what I mean? Like there were things that you were saying that I was like, I never would have said that. Like I never would have thought of that. I never would have like. But it's because your mind is going to fill in the gaps, and whatever you believe, you can conceive. So by you saying these certain things, it puts you in a different state.
Yeah.
And I like that. Hopefully nobody was doing that while they were driving. That would have been really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Please
yes,
pull over if you're going to try this.
Oh, yeah.
Buddy. I love that. Well, thank you for that. That was amazing. And thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome.
So, is that what you do with people? Like, is that part of your strategy, part of your toolbox, if you will, to kind of center and ground people where they are?
Yeah, I definitely, certainly in my women's work, I have a lot of grounding tools. I have a lot of protection tools. I love creative visualizations where people, go on inner journeys, because we're in a world that is so defined by doing, and it is so important to come back to being. And when we are in this being state, we connect with our essence, and then we also there is hopefully room and space that opens up, and then we can feel the essence and we can feel our divine connection. And I just feel that is so important these days, so important.
True. Yeah. 100% agree. Wow. I'm so calm right now. Like, I'm just not wound up about anything. I'm just calm.
Oh, I love it. What a compliment. Because this was a mini guided journey.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Cool. So as you talk about, uplifting women, and you're the CEO of Women Uplift. So talk about that. What is Women Uplift?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. I personally I've always loved the word uplift. And it's so funny because I was born and raised in Germany, and recently I shared this title with my mom, and she said, "What does that mean?" So I had to translate it into German. And that was almost like coming up with a definition. So what I see in that title, or what that title means to me, is that number one, in women, it also comes with the men, right? So yes, it sounds like it's only exclusively for the women, but since men is within the women, I'm talking to men too. So what I feel is when we give ourselves permission to feel, and to certainly feel the emotions that are not so pleasant, or hence could be described as, one of my dark sides, there is such healing that's happening for the person that does it. And then, of course, when I do it, when I heal, that healing is being shared with the world. So uplifting doesn't necessarily mean to me that we're like skipping around and we're like positive no matter what. To me, uplifting really means that we are real and we are authentic and we dare to feel. And when you feel, you heal. And, then you shift, hence my mantra, feel to heal and shift to uplift. When we shift internally, that's when the upliftment or one form of upliftment happens. And so it's really an uplifting that is based on realness, rawness, vulnerability, and authenticity.
That's true. I tell people, I said, you must live a genuine, authentic, and transparent life, and you will live a life of abundance. Mm-hmm. Be genuine, authentic, and transparent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Transparent. Thank you. That's, yeah. Oh, yeah.
100% have to. So how did you learn all this? What are some of the resources that if someone wanted to follow this, get into Tantra and, the visualizations and family constellation and all that, like what are some resources that you have or resources that you have used to learn all of this?
Yeah, my journey actually has always been such that I was guided to what was next. And so over the course of my many years and life experiences, when I, struggled with one dark night of the soul, let's say it was the wildfire, I was then guided to either teachers or a practice that would support me to move out of the darkness. And I believe if everybody could trust that their life is taking them by the hand and guiding them, and that the right people, the right situations, and the right resources also show up, that I guess everybody could be so much more chilled and relaxed, trusting that. Wow. And also, I want to address that many times, and I know it for myself, as a feminine or as a woman, there are times when I felt stupid or not, sophisticated or educated enough. So I'm so grateful that I didn't make the choices for healing tools based on that, but the trust that, okay, this is something that I need to learn now. And so, yeah, there are so many resources out there. And I guess the ones that I share with people are focused on tools around change. So how can you move through change and receive the gifts of change?
Oh, it's huge. Huge. People hate change.
Yeah.
Nobody wants, they don't want change. So that's huge what you do.
Yeah, and another area then is vision, because a lot of times when we are going through change, and I can speak to that myself, we totally lose our sense of clarity, right? So there's so much confusion. So another area that I focus on is vision, to really become crystal clear again, what is my heart's vision, not the mind or what my parents or my friends or my husband tells me, but me and my soul vision, so to speak. And then the next level is purpose, discovering what are the skills, the talents, the gifts, and how could that become my purpose that I share in the world. So it's a purpose that fills me, and then slowly but surely it fulfills people that I come into contact with, hence my clients, and then that ripples out into a much larger experience. So.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add to that, especially when I do my women's retreats, which are live events. Everything comes with a lot of magic and playfulness. I so believe in magic and sparkles and playfulness.
Right.
Because whatever worrisome or heavy energy we carry around with us, or the many, many thoughts of what needs to be done and accomplished and full,
Yep.
Yeah, accomplished.
100%.
It can melt into that playfulness and magic.
Yeah. Nope. Absolutely. 100% agree. So as we start to close the show, we do a shameless plug. You plug your friends, quotes, websites, Facebook, whatever it is that you want the audience to know. This is your time to plug. Shameless plug moment. Go.
That's so funny. I completely forgot about that. Well, here is, it might be maybe a little slightly different unplug. One of my biggest sources of inspiration is nature. I am so deeply in love with nature and who she is and what she offers to us. So another amazing source of inspiration for me has been Paulo Coelho, the writer Paulo Coelho, and the musician Peter Gabriel. Oh my God, love this man. So revolutionary. I mean, what he creates on stage is just out of this world. Another source of inspiration has always been the actress Meryl Streep, because I honestly cannot believe how many films this woman has acted in with such a variety, and raised a family, 4 children, and is still married to the same guy, and has become like this voice in Hollywood and this women's activist. It's just unbelievable. I guess another source of inspiration for me is a writer that survived the Holocaust by the name of Viktor Frankl, I guess it's pronounced here, and he wrote an amazing book called The Meaning of Life, I believe it's called. It's been a while. And then an amazing other inspiration have been my parents, most especially my mom. And another person, his name is Eric Weihenmayer. He is a blind man, and he was the one and only and the first man to summit Mount Everest. And he solo kayaked the Grand Canyon. and he started a foundation called No Barriers, where he works with vets and he works with children.
I've heard of this guy.
Yeah. He's amazing. And I have a number.
No barriers. I'm like, yep, no barriers. Yep. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then I kind of look around, who are the couples, men and women doing work together that inspire me. And there are two, definitely Barack and Michelle Obama inspired me. There's a musician couple called Deva Premal and Me 10, phenomenal people. And then there is a couple that started the Shift Network, and it's Deva Haley Mitchell and Stephen Dyna. And I adore these people and the content that they bring into the world.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So as we close the show, can you deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action today?
Is that my one sentence that I get to share?
It could be whatever, if you want it to be one sentence.
Okay, what I would love to do is I would love to close with the same question I started with. What will you do with your one wild and precious life? ?
I love it. Very simple. Very great way to close the show. Well, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest. I've never done anything like that on my show before. Doing the meditation, the mindfulness, the visualization. I've never done anything like that. So thank you for leading us in that. That was incredible. And all of the great information that you've given us, I just want to thank you so much for who you are and what you stand for. And I look forward to a continued relationship.
Me too. Thank you so much. I'm honored and I feel blessed to having been your guest. Thank you, Sean, what you're sharing and bringing to the world.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome. So Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest, elevating lives everywhere she goes, even on the show. That mindfulness, go back and listen to that. This show is going to be forever up. So you go back, you remember this episode, take note of where the visualization was, and go back and do that exercise. As I close, please subscribe, rate, and review Life Transformation Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you are comfortable listening to podcasts, or right here on Blog Talk Radio. So as I close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera.
I'm switching. That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.